Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the history books, but not the ones you had in school. We're about to uncover 10 mind-blowing historical facts that somehow slipped through the cracks of your education. Get ready, because history is way weirder and more interesting than you remember. Let's kick things off with ancient Rome. You've heard of the gladiators, the Colosseum, the epic battles? But did you know that in ancient Rome, there was a goddess of the sewer? Her name was Clocina, and she was the protector of the Cloaca Maxima, Rome's gigantic sewer system. People actually prayed to her to keep the drains from backing up. Imagine that. It just goes to show you, the Romans really had a god or goddess for everything. Next up, let's talk about a famous historical figure, Napoleon Bonaparte. We all know him as a brilliant military strategist and a powerful emperor. But here's something you probably didn't learn. Napoleon was once attacked by a horde of rabbits. Seriously, he was on a rabbit hunt, and the gamekeeper had gathered hundreds of bunnies for the occasion. But when the cages were opened, instead of running away, the rabbits charged straight at Napoleon and his men. They swarmed him, and he had to retreat to his carriage. The great general, defeated by a fluffy army? Now, let's jump over to the Viking Age. We picture them as fierce warriors with horned helmets, right? Well, that's a myth. There is absolutely no historical evidence that Vikings wore horned helmets in battle. This popular image actually comes from a 19th century opera costume design. Real Viking helmets were much more practical, usually simple, conical, or rounded caps made of leather or iron. So, next time you see a Viking with horns, you can confidently say, that's historically inaccurate. Speaking of misconceptions, let's talk about pirates. We imagine them burying treasure and making elaborate maps marked with an X. While a few pirates might have buried loot, it was incredibly rare. Why? Most pirates wanted to spend their money as fast as they could on shore. The whole buried treasure trope was largely popularized by Robert Louis Stevenson's novel, Treasure Island. The reality of a pirate's life was a lot less glamorous and a lot more about immediate gratification. Let's fast forward to the early 20th century. Have you ever heard of the Great Emu War in Australia? In 1932, the Australian military literally declared war on emus. Over 20,000 of these large, flightless birds were destroying crops in Western Australia. So, the army was sent in with machine guns to solve the problem. But the emus were surprisingly tactical. They split into small groups and were incredibly hard to hit. After a month of failed attempts and a lot of wasted ammunition, the military withdrew. The emus had officially won the war. It's a hilarious and humbling reminder that nature sometimes outsmarts even our best-laid plans. Okay, let's get a little presidential. Did you know that Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the United States, had a pet parrot named Pole? And this wasn't just any parrot. Apparently, Pole had picked up quite a bit of colorful language from the famously fiery president. When Jackson died in 1845, Pole the parrot was at the funeral. But the bird started swearing so loudly and so continuously that it had to be removed from the service. Can you imagine being at a presidential funeral and hearing a parrot cursing up a storm? History is full of these wonderfully absurd moments. From pets to food, let's talk about ketchup. Today, it's a staple made from tomatoes. But originally, ketchup had no tomatoes at all. The first versions of ketchup, originating in China, were a fermented fish sauce. When the recipe made its way to Europe, people started experimenting with different ingredients like mushrooms, walnuts, and anchovies. It wasn't until the early 1800s in America that someone thought to add tomatoes, and the modern ketchup we know and love was born. So the next time you put ketchup on your fries, remember its fishy origins. Here's one from the world of art. The famous Mona Lisa painting by Leonardo da Vinci is one of the most protected artworks in the world. But for a while, it was just gone. In 1911, it was stolen right out of the Louvre Museum in Paris. The whole world was in an uproar. Even Pablo Picasso was a suspect for a time. The painting was missing for 2 full years before it was recovered. The thief, an Italian handyman who had worked at the Louvre, said he stole it because he believed it belonged in Italy. The theft ironically made the Mona Lisa even more famous than it already was. Let's travel back to the Middle Ages. We often think of this period as dark and grim, but they had their own unique forms of justice. One of these was the animal trial. That's right, animals could be put on trial for crimes. There are records of pigs, rats, and even insects being formally charged, given a lawyer, and tried in court. In one famous case in 1474, a rooster was put on trial and executed for the unnatural crime of laying an egg. The belief was that an egg laid by a rooster was a tool of a witch. It's a bizarre chapter in legal history that shows just how different their worldview was. For our final surprising fact, let's talk about the Olympic Games. The modern Olympics are all about celebrating athletic achievement, but for several decades, from 1912 to 1948, the Olympics also awarded medals for the arts. Competitions were held in architecture, literature, music, painting, and sculpture. The founder of the modern Olympics, Pierre de Coubertin, believed that a true Olympian should be skilled in both body and mind. He even won a gold medal himself for his poem, Ode to Sport. Imagine winning a gold medal for writing a book or composing a symphony. And there you have it, 10 surprising, strange, and downright fascinating facts that you definitely didn't learn in your history class. It just goes to show that the past is filled with incredible stories, hiding just beneath the surface. Which of these facts surprised you the most? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this journey into the weird side of history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.